Okay, so here we got a typical low kilometer F550. It's what year is this? 2006,
Six.
2007?
2006.
Yeah, so we know that because it's got the 10 bolt 19.5s and the coil springs. That's generally a '05 up trait on all these 550 chassis, where the 030, or I guess 99 to '04 were a leaf spring and 8 bolt setup that was really hard on rims. That's what we always found. We're always changing rims. So this is kind of how we set them up. Just to basically have a look. So when I first got it going, it had no fuel pressure. I put this gauge on there. You can see it over there, right? And it was showing like maybe like 2-3 pounds of fuel pressure. So I'll generally just hammer on the fuel pressure regulator, and sure enough, that worked. The fuel pressure came up and the truck started. So it quickly went into what kind of felt like EGR mode, where the EGR is probably stuck and it was just choking it off. It was like, you know, it drove around the yard for a bit, stalled. These batteries, I really don't like these batteries. They're not in the greatest of shape. They're not the right size. You see they're not clamped down. It looks to me like someone's done a repair here. Not a very good one. So that's problematic. I could even see an electrical problem shutting the truck down, but you know, kind of upon further visual inspection, you know, we can see even like there's a lot of oil passing through the system here. Up in the turbo here, you can see it's really oily inside that turbo. Right, just get right in that snout there, right? So if I see oil here and I see oil there, oil down on the intercooler, and nothing around here where the blow-by goes, then I'll usually suspect there's a problem with the turbo. See, in here it's all relatively clean. So if it had excessive blow-by into the turbo, we'd see on that side a lot of oil, but I don't see a lot of oil there. That's nice and clean. I just pulled that off, and when I grab onto that turbo, I can feel quite a bit of play in there. Like, some play's normal, but in and out play is really what I'm looking for, and I feel a bit of that. So I'm gonna say this truck's got a turbo issue. It still does have an EGR in place, and it's really gunky, and there's a mouse nest in there. So God only knows what those mice have been chewing on. But so every time we do an EGR, we do an oil cooler. So if they just kind of go hand in hand, we'll look at this turbo, but it'll likely need to be replaced. That is weird. I have seen that before, and I'm still not exactly sure why these caps rot out like that. You know,
Oh, interesting.
yeah. So more of like an East Coast thing, and this truck is a little bit on the rusty side, so I'm kind of wondering if it maybe came from Ontario or something like that. But it's 100,000 kilometers, and it really doesn't look like you know, anything's really been done to it. Usually if people work on these, you can see, like, for example, right here. So somebody's changed an alternator and they broke this clip off, right? So what's gonna happen? If the engine's gonna run rough or whatever, then the wire's not held in. So usually I look down here, everybody always breaks off this clip. This isn't done. There's a zip tie around this glow plug module. So someone's probably played with that and broken a clip off somewhere. As far as this side goes, I don't really see anything else that's concerning. Moving on to this side, if I get it kind of into the back, I can see some power steering leakages. There's a hose kind of right down in there. It's kind of hard to see, but no, you can't really catch that on the camera, but nonetheless, it's leaking. You can see someone's done a repair here on this pipe. Look at that, there's electrical tape. That's very common to see. The air box, if you don't install it right, and this one was not installed right, it rubs on that. And so there's going to be a boost leak here, and this plastic doesn't really take a whole lot of that, and they're not cheap either. I generally try to find the ones off the 03, 04. They had a nice, you know, steel pipe on there. It was beautiful. Never had any problems. But then, yeah, Ford in their infinite wisdom decided to throw plastic at it. So, great. I don't know if you topped up the coolant, but the coolant is full, but it has a bit of a, see, I pressured it up just to check, see if it had any coolant leaks, and it had a leak here, right? We could see it running out there. We just pump it up to 16, and then, you know, it looks pretty good though. Looks like it's gold, Ford gold anyways, or something kind of similar to it. It's a little bit pinkish. So that's pretty much enough from under the hood, I guess. Again, all that oil down there we seen when we were looking at it from the bottom, you know, so you could have a little bit of oil pushing through this side too, eh? And generally we'll see it right there, even on the hood. You know, I'll see that big spot of oil there, and right away that tells me that that boost pipe's broke and the turbo's pushing a little bit of oil. So let's just have a look to see what our CAT scan is doing. Hey, there's a mouse nest under there. Go get that thing. So the computer is saying cylinder 1 and cylinder 2 balance fault, turbo under boost, obviously. System voltage low, water and fuel, I could see that coming up on the dashboard. These intermittent cluster ones, you know, you get a lot of these funny ones as soon as the batteries get dead. And the left rear wheel speed sensor, which is strange how they call those, because there's really only a wire going to the center of it. But we'll get that down to that in a little bit. So basically I'll just give it just a quick injector buzz. It was running about 2 hours ago, so it should be cold enough now. 2, 3, 4, no 5, 6, 7, 8. They all want to go, so it's strange it's calling 1 and 2, but we don't hear a click on 5. Let's see, wait.
8 felt weak.
No 5, 6, 7. No, 8 sounded okay. One more time. Ford does everything in 3s. It's always in 3s.
Yeah, it's definitely 5.
So yeah, so now because it had a low fuel pressure condition, it may have called that as a contribution fault. So it'll either be low circuit or contribution, right? So this is circuit contribution, right? It's a balance fault. So you know, if we're to get it running and we look at the graph, right, we would usually see that it's gonna, you know, drop down, you know, on those. Now if it's not getting fuel pressure, it'll just call it right away, right? So a lot of people get confused with that. You have to clear these codes, try and solve your fuel pressure problem, which I believe I did kind of crudely by hammering on it, but the you know, the fuel pressure test doesn't lie. So it's a pretty good indication of that. So we know we've got an injector problem of some sort. The only real other thing that I like to do here is just to check sensors and stuff like that is just to key on engine off. Right, and just that'll just kind of click everything and see what's going on. See if we've got it out. We've got the air box out and a few things taken apart, so we're gonna expect some codes there. But and it's strange to see something that yeah, see water and fuel condition, you know, which could attribute, maybe there's rust or something like that inside the oh, got to do its thing inside the fuel bowl or whatever, and it's causing some sort of an issue with the pressure spring. Now generally we put a blue spring in, they call it. That's Ford's actually updated that. The VT365, which is what this engine is called, right, built for an international application, will use a power steering / fuel pump that's run off of the timing gears, basically. So then Ford gets it and they put this stupid electric pump in, and they realize that they have to do a little bit of work on the fuel system to make it have proper pressure. So next, quick look underneath. Yeah, I'll just take that so we don't have to. You know, that's probably from whatever, oil cooler leakage or whatever, but that concerns me, that pinion is leaking. This shock looks okay, but I did look at the other shock. I can't really see, but that shock's leaking, so I do front shocks on it. The rear end, you can see that pinion's leaking. So I don't know what's going on there. Usually I don't see that. You know, it's because they get muddy and the vents block off. Those rear shocks too, they look like they might be leaking. It could be overspray though from the drive shaft, but really for what it's worth, if you're taking all the wheels off and having a look at e-brakes, e-brake has to work. It's a commercial vehicle, so they'll always check that. Another issue I noticed was no park lights, right? Turn that on. I've got headlights. The four-ways blink the front signals and the rear ones, but no park lights. Yeah, that's not even working, that one there. This one is, so don't even have a left turn signal. No cab lights, no deck lights. Yeah, no center ones here. Let's turn those ones off and see if they actually come on. Nonetheless, those are the things that I'll have to look at. I flicked the switches. That one work light is coming on. Yeah, see, not even any tail lights, so can't even drive this thing down the road. So that'll have to be addressed. So we've got injector issues, we've got turbo issue, oil cooler issue, EGR issue. Even if there isn't a problem with EGR, I really think that there is, but I'm suggesting that just gets deleted. So I think we can leave that off. And I think this should be in a state to do our next quick test here. So this doesn't take very long. So what I like to do is I just like to look at injector pressure. I like to look at the FICM. I like to see the logic power. I like to see the main power, 48.5, so that's good. And I like to see the information for sync, just to make sure the cam and the crank are kicking in. And then we're all gonna look at, injection pressure here at the regulator, because we want to see where that's at, because that'll give me an indication if something's leaking. Generally not cold. And then I'm just gonna have a look at the volts. So now we're gonna spin this guy over. We're just gonna back it up. All right, so we're gonna cycle. See, right away is there. Look, we're not getting any damn fuel. Oh, there it goes. It's coming up. Yeah, so that's good. So we want to see a minimum of 45 there, right? We're seeing 50, so whatever I hammered seems to be helping. Okay, so now I'm going to crank it. We're going to see what happens. So right away, it's got lots of pressure, right? So it's going to cough. It's going to puke. All right, we're gonna have a look there. We've got good fuel pressure. You can hear that it's missing. Obviously, we don't have the turbo pipes on, so we're just blowing it out there. I'm not seeing a lot of blow by right off the hop. You know, the turbo is blowing, right? So it could be passing oil because it's running shitty. I doubt it. So now that it's running, I'm going to go into the balance factor. And I'm going to initiate that. Hopefully it'll run the test. Sometimes it won't when I have stuff taken apart on these 550s. Oh yeah, see, look at that. Right off the, yeah, so it looks like it's, I don't know if it's compensating but it's like way over fueling on injector 5. If it's not clicking, you have to have an IDS to turn off the compensation program. So unfortunately, working with a good, but not factory tooling system. So yeah, it's a tough call, right? Our fuel pressure's still up, so it should be banging on all of them. Now I'm gonna switch back here. So we'll have a look at my data. Right, so that's all looking good. Now, go in here to battery positive voltage, right? See, that's a little bit on the low side too. Now, when I push this, that e-brake should climb the idle. It's strange that it doesn't. Yeah, pretty much has nothing, no power. Yep, pressure climbs fast. So, what I'm assuming is that the engine hasn't been touched. It'll need standpipes and dummy plugs. That's something that that Ford's called for an update, and it's something that we often see fail on these. But there's not a lot that we see with them in. We update the fitting on the oil pump. So we pull the oil pump up, we reseal that. Put the standpipes and the dummy plugs in the oil rails that power the injectors. On this fuel pressure regulator, right? We buy a kit like this. It comes with that spring. It bumps up the pressure, keeps feeding the injectors. We'll put in a couple of used injectors. Maybe new ones would be nice, right? We will check the harness, right? Just put another injector on, make sure maybe it's not a wiring harness issue on the injector before we start spending big money on an injector. As far as the front end goes, did a good front end check. It seems to have ball joints done. There's zerks on them anyways. I got it jacked up. I put the bar on it. I don't feel anything moving or clunking around in there. So I think you're okay there. The tires don't look all burned off on one side or anything like that. So I would say that's pretty much it. I'll watch this video again and write all that stuff down and see what you think, see if we want to fix it. I would say a truck like this, if you're going to use it and you want it to last a long time, instead of doing all this work in the cab and dicking around, replacing parts, not sure what's going on, I would get head studs, and they've come really far down in price. We're using an exotic brand right now, and instead of paying $800 to $1,000 for ARPs, they're like $400, and they're good. They're tested. We've had no issues with them. Getting the head surfaced and checked over, we got a good guy for that, and we just pick up this cab, put 8 brand new injectors in it. We could even compression test it first. When the cab's up in the air, that makes it very easy to do. And then, basically just fix all the little things that we'll be able to see so much more. We could get the cab up in the air, we could just do it right, or we can kind of pick around at it, right? And see what's going on with it. But it's a low kilometer truck, it's worth money, it's got a pretty nice deck on it, we could throw a coat of paint on it, we can reseal the diffs, we could get everything working. It's got 2 tanks. These things are fantastic on fuel. The 550s are geared a bit differently, but still, they can haul a lot of weight and you don't have to CVIP them. You just have to make sure that everything works and it's safe. Do a little bit of wiring. This is a $100,000 truck to replace, and we might have to spend a little bit of money, but I think it's worth it. But that's my inspection. That's what I think, and you can let me know what you want to do.